Welcome into another exciting edition of the award-winning, largest downloaded podcast in the world, the Groz with Gas Take 5 show presented by Jason Puckett Media Empire Incorporated, LLC, distributed. Hey, speaking of largest podcast ever, guys, did you see that Bill Simmons actually made a stink about that? That he says there are people saying that they have more downloads than they really are. And he got it's like, okay, who cares?
Holy cow.
Can you imagine?
Come on, man.
It just doesn't matter.
I tell you what, I am exhausted, Gasaway. There was so much sports on this weekend, it was unbelievable.
And I'm sitting here like Bobby Bacala looking at Junior. I'm in awe of you because I think you may have nailed the Seahawks. I don't want to overreact too much. We all know how foolish it is to freak out about one game. But boy, did they have a lot of issues in that Niners game. And I just, even if they had won, you just said, boy, the defense just, they kept them in it. Yeah, they did, but they bent all day. I mean, they got, I'm not going to say they got lucky. A guy misses a field goal, that's on him. They blocked a field goal, that's good play. But I don't know, I wasn't impressed with much of the Seahawks play in this Niners game.
No, not really. It was disappointing because you really, all that matters, and I think this year, more than any other year, in recent memory for the Seahawks is going to be games like this. I mean, it's going to be ugly games going down in the last minute. You're not going to be able to make mistakes if you expect to win. You're not going to score a lot of points, and that's exactly what today was. I think defensively they really got a lot of talent, Gas, for the most part. But then again, George Kittle went out at the beginning of the second quarter, was gone for the entire second half, and they weren't really able to make the key stops they needed to in the fourth quarter. I mean, you're right, they bent but didn't break. Made some big plays, but then made some really dumb mistakes, big mistakes. And I mean, offensively, they just fell apart in the second half. They just had nothing going. I mean, until that last drive when Sam Darnold looked like he was going to get it done, which would have been all that mattered. You get the win, you get out of town, you feel lucky. You say what the Bengals said yesterday. We stole one. Yeah,
especially in the NFL, man. You get a win, and that's all that matters. Woolen looked, he had two chances and interceptions. He just got turned around on one, and then I don't know what happened in the end zone. It's like he forgot there was a guy behind him. And again, you're picking on players right after it happened. I get that, but the defense, when when Tongas comes in as the backup tight end, it becomes the go-to guy on the last drive. But again, you could say, how can you let that happen? And then the easy answer is they're NFL players, man. The backup tight end, he may not be as good as Kittle, but he's not crappy. He wouldn't be the backup tight end if he was lousy. And so, I don't know. I think, it's funny. I'll see one thing I really liked a lot was the one TD that they scored today, the first TD of the season. They ran right over Groz, the kid from North Dakota State. I saw a quote about him that I thought was fantastic. Somebody said, we're going to talk, he's the kind of guy you're going to talk about a lot as a rookie and then not talk about him again forever. And you're going to look up and he's going to have 12 years under his belt. And he's kind of built that way. And that was impressive. I love that they used Milroe in the first series. I don't know why they didn't use him again. I'm not expecting him to come in and run 5 or 6 plays, but I like that as a change of pace. So there were a couple things I liked, but man, oh man, does Darnold hold on to the ball, doesn't he? Boy, he stays in the pocket for a long time and invites disaster.
Well, but you know what? I mean, he had the game right there. I mean, he made the big play at the end to get him in position, and it looked like it was going to happen. I mean, it looked like he was going to get it done. And then, I mean, I don't think he got hit on that last play. I think the ball just slipped out of his hand, didn't it? I mean, didn't know what they determined by looking at the replays?
Well, it looked like it hit, I forget who, one of the Hawks offensive linemen had kind of curled around behind him. And it just, he's got the, that's not on anybody. That's just a dumb NFL luck play. I mean, I can't blame Darnold for that. But
but the thing is, we talked about it at the start. You got to win a game like this. This is a game you have to win. You say you got away with it, you escape with it, whatever. But when you're at home and you held San Francisco down the way you held them down, you've got to win the game. And they missed a couple of field goals you pointed out, and yet you didn't get it done at the end. And you got a team that is going to have trouble scoring, I think, all year. I didn't see anything that made me think otherwise today, Gas. I don't know if you did.
No.
San Francisco's pretty good. They didn't look great to me. And, they're not going to be able to afford I didn't like the play, the third down play where they tried to do the lateral almost and nearly threw it. I mean, they just looked out of their mind on that one. They looked like they were a panicky team on that one. And it wasn't clean. It wasn't good. It was really bad execution there at the end of the game, which I think is bodes very poorly for them.
I hope Clint Kubiak has a great career here. And again, I'm not going to judge him on one game, but someday when he looks for a new job, that series, those 3 plays after they got the ball back on the interception, it's like, all right, time to go. You have to borrow our old friend Softy, who always is measured in his responses. Time to step on their throat. Let's go. And it was time to step on their throat. And they call that stupid-ass screenplay that just doesn't work. And like the entire Niner defense is standing over there waiting for the ball. Then they run, and Jigba drops a pass, and he did drop it. I thought he was in some traffic. Yeah. You should hang on to that. And then that stupid hook and ladder play that was like, what are you guys doing?
Had no chance.
When Kubiak looks for a job the next time, that series will not be on his resume tape. That will not exist in any form at all. And that was, it felt, they felt like an unfinished work on offense. Yeah. And maybe the good thing of that is hopefully they're going to get better.
Well, they go to Pittsburgh next week, where Aaron Rodgers threw 4 touchdown passes this week.
I mean,
on the road against the Jets.
Yeah.
And they'll see their buddy DK Metcalf. We're probably pretty excited to see them, and we'll see what happens, man.
Is that what you think? Yeah, you think they're going to be a little geeked up in Pittsburgh? I mean, Rodgers just stuck it up New York's rear end. He's going to be fired up. The Steeler fans are always fired up. DK is going to want to have like 19 catches for 5,000 yards. And you're looking at starting the year 0-2, and that's, just you can try out the old playoff stat, which I don't, again, now that there's extra playoff teams, all that, I'm not as concerned about that. It's just if you're 0-2, that's a crummy start, man. That's lousy.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we talk about everyone else?
Everyone
else had a good weekend in Seattle sports. Everyone else had a great weekend in Seattle sports. Starting with your hard-hitting, offensive powerhouse, road-dominating Seattle Mariners.
Think of that flight home tonight. It's a long flight, and you didn't lose any games at the start of the road trip. You did, but you've forgotten about it. What you remember is you just won 2 at the end of it. You don't have any hitting woes. You just had a 20-hit game. They played 14 guys today. 12 of them got hits. Most of them got multiple hits. Luis Castillo isn't struggling anymore. He had a nice, solid outing today. That flight home tonight and that game today can go a long way towards hopefully getting them back on track, because they certainly don't look like they're on track until they got to this weekend. And you can't play Atlanta forever, but St. Louis and the Angels here should provide you a good chance to continue to get healthy.
I think Ryan Divish had a good line in the Times thing that he wrote right after the game, which was, they look dangerous. They looked dangerous the last 2 games. I mean, you saw what that lineup can do. You saw what the pitching staff can do. Not what you hope they can do. You want to see them do it one day. Things that they've done before. All these guys have done it, maybe not this year at the same time until now, but in their careers, they've all done this before. So they really, they turned it around. And you know what? You see what Cal Raleigh said after the game?
I did not.
Exactly. Well, let's look at any Dan Wilson quote after a game.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
We just kept grinding. We just stayed with it. We just we just kept it loose. He said all the stuff that Dan Wilson said, which is the key to the team. I mean, you got to keep it loose. You can't panic. You don't stress. And, they didn't. And, Raleigh made that point. I thought it was a pretty effective point. And kind of looking behind the scenes a little bit, Dan Wilson is connecting with these players. So, they're listening to him, and it's working for him. They didn't panic, and they really had a good weekend. I don't want to jump the gun too much on it, but it was really, really an impressive 2 games.
No, I thought it was very impressive. Again, Wilson's a major league manager, so he's going to get critiqued, and I get that. One of the sillier things I've seen is, and it was the juxtaposition of it all, but he gets thrown out of a game that Lou Piniella happens to be at. That was actually pretty funny. But then that led to people saying, he needs to have Lou's fire. And I'm like, he is not that guy. And if he tried to be that guy, the players would see through it in a second.
Tony.
And it would, you got to be who you are. You may not like Dan. You may want him to be more fired up. You may want him to do crazy stuff, but that's not who he is. And then, to your point about how dangerous the lineup is, it seems to be like the last several years, I've been going to M's games, and even years where they're in it, I look at their lineup and there's like a 3 or 4 guy hole where you're like, well, we're not getting anything out of this inning. They don't have that anymore. Now, they've been slumping a little bit and been struggling a little bit, and that's going to come. Hitting or going to happen. Hitting will come and go. But you're right. When they're on, it's like there is not a hole in the lineup. And if their pitching can recover from this little weird slump they've been in, we've always said it, Dave, if they can get to the postseason, their pitching gives them a chance against anybody.
Well, and their ERA as a team is a run and a half better at home than it is on the road. and 13 of their last 19 games are at home. So, I mean, if they don't get it done this year, and they're in the playoffs right now, if they don't get it done this year, yeah, it's going to be really, really, really disappointing at this point because they're in position to get it done. And this is the other thing to kind of point out, Gas, during this stretch where they've been playing poorly, they never fell out of the playoff spot. They never did fall behind in the playoff race. And that, believe me, has some significance. I really think it does. So, we'll see what they do coming back home. St. Louis and the Angels first, right, for 7.
And then it's
big
Kansas City
that.
and Houston. On the road, and then home with Colorado and the Dodgers. So 13 of their last 19 at home. And the Dodgers and Astros and Kansas City in there, so it's certainly not easy games. But 13 of 19 at home, and we'll see if they can bring it in. I've been laughing watching you try and keep people's spirits up, trying to be the and it is. You said something the other day on Twitter that it brought a big smile to my face. It was, man, pennant race baseball is fun. It's not always easy, and it's not always, it gets you nervous, but it's fun to get up every day and wonder what is going to happen today. How are they going to do it today? And I think that this thing today, the explosion they had is fantastic. It should lead to more good stuff.
And I reiterate, Raleigh parroting Dan Wilson after the game really stood out to me as well. And he's got 53 now, for crying out loud. I mean, what a great year he's having. What a great year Julio Rodriguez is having at the end of the day, right? I mean, he's going to be a 30-30 player this year. I mean, he's picking it up late. They've got Suarez, a great leader who's also hitting the ball well now. They got veterans all over the place. I'm feeling really good about this club.
Maybe Julio's just going to be a guy who takes a while to heat up always, and it's going to frustrate the hell out of us in the spring, but as it gets warmer, he gets going. Maybe not. Also, we keep talking about he's still incredibly young, and he may figure out how to get off to a better start. But you're right. Raleigh's overshadowing everybody for obvious reasons, but Julio's year is, if Cal was having just the year he's had in the past, we'd all be talking about Julio because he's been remarkable. But Cal is just kind of obliterating any talk of anybody else but Cal.
Well, we're beginning to see it all come together, I think, for these guys. And then I'm wearing a Cougar hat today because
look at you.
I want to acknowledge that they were on a very good Saturday for the Northwest as well. They had a good game. I mean, they didn't play well against Idaho. I thought they played better in this game. They showed some signs of it being a pretty interesting Apple Cup when those guys get together. And the Huskies did what they were supposed to do. And, I mean, they may have piled it on, whatever. I don't care. They were supposed to – they executed the way they thought they could. This is what they felt like they could do as a team. And I think, regardless of the opponent, it was a good weekend for them, real good weekend for them. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree. And it scored every time they had the ball. They look good in all three. I mean, they did what they're supposed to. You're playing a Big Sky team. That's what you ought to do. I don't like these games. I'm not picking on Washington. Everybody plays them. I wish they'd stop. My guys, Indiana this week, are playing Indiana State. I mean, you're not going to learn anything, I don't think. But you might, if you're playing it, you want to be like they were. It's kind of what we were talking about with the M's. You pile up that much, everybody feels good. Everybody has a good week of practice, and they've got a week now. They get to rest up for the Apple Cup. I'm glad the Cougs look good because it's funny. I want, and I don't know if it will. It's going to take a few years before we determine if the Apple Cup will stay at the level that it was at for years. It may not, since it's not a conference game anymore. But I'd like it to still be a big, important sports date in this region because it's fun. Yeah. It's a fun game, but it's probably asking too much for it to stay the same.
Gas, I think more of it's because it's not at the end of the year anymore.
Right.
I think that was a big part of it too. I mean, we're conditioned as college football fans. You play your rivalry game late.
Right.
It's the last game you play every year, and that was for the most part the case with the Apple Cup. But no, it's still big now, and it'll be an interesting game in a couple of weeks. It really will be, I think.
Although you can play a rivalry game early and funny stuff can happen. Did you see what happened? What the fan did in the Missouri-Kansas game? Did you see this story?
No.
I'm not sure if I think it's funny or sad or both. It's pretty. So Missouri and Kansas renewed their rivalry, first time in years that they've played, and it was called the Border War, and now it's called something else. But whatever, they don't like each other. Groz, and they'll tell you it goes back to the Civil War. They weren't on the same page then, and they're sure as hell not on the same page now. So they got some guy they pick out of the stands, Fred Snerdley or whatever his name is, from somewhere in Missouri. He's a Missouri fan. He's got a Missouri shirt on, and he's getting a chance to kick like a 35-yard field goal for a lot of money.
Okay.
The crowd's going nuts. He's out there on the field. And as he gets the ball all set up, and then he rips off his Missouri shirt, and underneath his Missouri shirt, he's got a shirt that says F Kansas. And the place goes nuts, and he turns and he kicks the ball as hard as he can at the Kansas sideline. He doesn't even try to go for the field goal to win money. He's like, here, Jayhawks, have this for lunch.
Okay.
And just smashes it right into him.
A little too far. At the end there, a little much.
You get back up in the stands and your wife is like, so you understand that was for like $30,000, right?
A lot of people saw it.
Nobody thought you were going to make it, but maybe that's not the best way, the best use of our time and
That's
and
hilarious.
money. Yeah, I like that. Hey, three other quick NFL notes before we leave, just to mention them, is that 73-year-old Pete Carroll is 1-0 with your Las Vegas Raiders. And
road win.
Again, I'm going to enjoy seeing what he can do down there. And I can't. I mean, it's funny. We talked about people leave here and fans tend to turn against him. I don't think that'll happen with Pete. I mean, unless you're playing the Raiders in the Super Bowl, you know?
Right?
I mean, then I'd understand it. But it's fun.
No, I don't think it'll happen with him either.
And Russell Wilson, a very pedestrian day today, and already people are like, "We want Jackson Dart."
That's charitable, guys.
Yeah.
He really did not have a. Washington's good though, but we'll see. They're already pressured, like you pointed out, to play their rookie. Who's already listed ahead of Jamison Winston in the depth chart. We'll see what Russell does next week, though. But boy, his career is on tilt.
Yeah,
I mean, this is really his last shot at it, I think. And once he loses that job with the Giants, I think you've probably seen the end of him.
Yeah, and it's been a sad slide, And again, I don't know if anybody still needs their if they haven't gotten their pound of flesh or whatever out of it, but this has been sad to watch because this guy was. And, as recently, what was it? Was it either 2018 or 2017 where he was like all they had? I mean, he really had a great year. The Hawks didn't have a great year, but he had a great year. It's funny. You wonder if he'd stayed. Now, if he had stayed here with Pete for another couple of years, at some point he'd have been gone. They'd have had to get rid of him.
Yeah, it wasn't working out at the end there.
Yeah, it's the Denver thing really appears to be where, he went in there and just kind of maybe felt I don't know. We've overanalyzed all of that stuff to death, and I just
he's just left a pile of bodies everywhere. He's gone since then.
Right,
his corpses everywhere. I mean, he just is. He's not the player he was. Not even close. And
he had some good years certainly after that fiasco at the end of Super Bowl 49. But you kind of look at that and you think, as they're walking off the field that night. If I'd said to you, hey, then here's what the next 9 years are going to be for him, you'd have laughed at me. He said, nah, he's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's still going to be good. And it's almost like that was the kryptonite, that was the moment he started. I don't know if this is true or not, but that maybe he started doubting himself and other people started doubting him. And who knows? But a tough afternoon for him. And Greg Olson, the Fox guy, right?
Yeah.
Forgetting his name. Yeah, I don't know why I can't think of his name all of a sudden. I really enjoyed him listening on the Hawks game, and I just bring it up because it just stuns me every time I hear him talking that they're using Brady as their number one guy, and I get why they are. But Olson's warm and engaging and fun and has some zip to his voice, and it's all stuff that I don't get out of Tom. But
not yet. But they're paying Tom an awful lot of dough.
Yeah, they are, man. They are.
What's kind of fun? A fun thing I just thought of about you were talking about the Raiders before and Pete. They're tied for the division lead with Denver and San Diego, right? Or excuse me, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
Coached by Jim Harbaugh.
How about that?
Back Harbaugh versus Carroll in the AFC.
We're going to see that twice this year. What's your
Part
deal,
2.
man? Well, no, and Pete will just diffuse it and just be Mr. Smiley and Mr. Gum Chewer, and that'll be that. That'll be how it'll go. Groz, would you like to wrap it up with a humorous hiding criminal story? Do you like those?
Who doesn't, Mike?
We're going to Escambia County, Florida, which I think is Pensacola. 31-year-old David Jerome Jackson was wanted on charges, some tough charges, firing a gun into a dwelling, aggravated assault, damage to property, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. They had a whole, I think they call it a rap sheet against this guy, Gross. And so they got a tip that Jackson was hiding in a house in Pensacola. That's where he is. He's hiding in there. Let's go find him. So they searched the entire house and they can't find him until they got to the laundry room and they noticed the door to the dryer was kind of open, so they pulled it open and found him folded, and their words were "not so neatly" into the dryer. He had put himself into a dryer to try and hide. And the police report, I want to work with these guys. The police report read that they pulled him out of the dryer, one limb at a time, along with several dryer sheets, mismatched socks, and a wrinkled Star Wars shirt. He was described by the police as looking guilty, embarrassed, but feeling quite warm.
Oh, that is a good story.
You get to the big house, they found you in a dryer. You were hiding in a dryer. Although it's not the dumbest idea I've ever heard, but it didn't work, Groz. Those cops in Escambia County were way too sharp for that kind of thing.
And they have a lot of experience with Florida men, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, so a week ago, you were down on the Hawks, and I was high on them, and now I'm down on them, and you're saying, calm down, everything's going to be all right. So who the hell knows what this show is all about, right?
Well, I'm not saying it's all right. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I'm worried about the Hawks. What are you talking about?
He's worried. He's worried.
What me worry?
That's right. All right, adios. See you, pal.
All right, buddy.